Jump Off Fancast with
Tyson's punch out. Don't ever try to test these skills. Matter of fact, I'll bruise him still. You said I look like Yoda? Lose you will. Sean Price, and I'd love to diss you, but I've had enough of this crew. This is what the human body would look like without any muscle tissue. You make a s'more. Yo, he said I'm here to expose you, but nobody knows you. Call time, you stupid dumbass. You don't know how to count. Shut the fuck up. Now we can go to the next round. Fuck up.
Code, you guys are fucking blacker than iPhones!
If you join Bone Thugs in Harmony, your name would be Thigh Bone.
90 seconds!
When I was in middle school, you know, when I first got into middle school, I like writing poetry and poems. Like my mother, you know, she wrote poems and stuff like that, and I really would like to do that. And then all of a sudden, you know, doing it to a beat was pretty dope. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I got into MCing. But in the area that I lived in, it really wasn't accepted. You know what I'm saying? As far as like a Mexican rapping. You know,
and where was your area for the people?
Like I grew up actually in Pine Hills in Orlando, Florida. Mm-hmm. And even though there's a lot of you know, a lot of different people there, it's not like it was just all black area or whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But in the area that I was at, just you wouldn't get respect like a white person rapping. You know, basically, you know, you weren't black, you weren't getting respect for rapping. You know, that's just how it was. And it's not, I can't blame anybody for that, you know what I'm saying? That's just how it was. Even though there was a lot of different rappers around at that time that weren't black. So it was just the area that I was in, you know?
And what time period is this about, would you say?
This was about maybe 12 years ago.
Okay.
Something like that.
All right.
You know,
was just hip hop in general still very alive there, or is it a little bit obscure?
Oh yeah, it was. It's just that back then everybody wasn't an MC. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? There was a few kids that rapped at the school, or you know, there was that one dude or something like that. You know what I mean? And that was it. Now it's like everybody raps. Yeah. You know, but it took time to accept that. And now it's oversaturated. But anyway,
so
I started getting into it, you know what I mean? And every time that I try to even say a poem or try to even do something, someone will try to battle me. Like, oh, you don't belong here. You know what I mean? And they put me down like that. So that's kind of like, that's where the battling came from. I didn't want to be a battle MC. You know, it was just thrown at me. And for like a whole year, the first year that I even started doing anything with beats on it or anything like that was always battles. You know, so I didn't even really write that much because the first time I tried to do something, you know, I was just thrown down. So every time I'd go out and try to do something, it was just someone trying to get on me, you know, and it was just a battle from there. But I just loved it, you know, because I found out that I was good at it. You know, and then it just went on from there. Like that's how I basically got my start. Like I love doing it, you know what I mean? I love like the attention and stuff. It was cool.
So how did you get, so you were doing, you know, more, I don't know, it sounds more informal at first in terms of trying to prove yourself or people giving you problems and having...
Right, because I was just trying to do what I love doing, you know, it was like a hobby, and then, it, you know, it turned into something greater than that, you know.
And how did those beginnings transition into like entering like official kind of platforms for battling? I mean, was there...
Before, I loved doing it, you know. It turned from proving myself to I love doing it to, okay, people know my name, you know, then, you know, you grow up, you know, it turns into a door, you know, that you can market yourself through, you know, for whatever it is you're doing. Like, for me as an artist, like, the type of points that I push, you know, when I first started, I wasn't talking about, like, political stuff. I wasn't talking about, you know, immigration and things like that. You know, I was just I wanted to rhyme.
Yeah.
You know, it was more on some battle stuff or more on some like witty stuff.
Okay.
So that's where that part comes. Like if you listen to my CD or you listen to my albums or anything like that, you're gonna find, you know, relevant topics, you know, to today's society. But then you're also gonna find like, you know, I'll kill you tracks.
Yeah.
It's not like with the gun or, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Actually, if you could talk about mixtapes and what work you've put out already.
I've been on a number of mixtapes, but I had my first album was called Bar Ever. It was around the time when Cannabis had did the 100 bars.
Okay.
And it wasn't something that was meant for me to like try to top him or anything like that. It was just we were in the studio, and I was just spitting. I did like 160 some bars, and they cut off. I guess they did like the best 100 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain point where I was like doing really good or whatnot.
Yeah.
And they said let's do an album called Bar Ever. It was the first. I was on an independent. I was signed to an independent when I was like 14 or something like that.
Really?
That's when I did the Bar. The Bar Ever album took years to make. It was actually. I had one song when I just got out of boot camp. So it was from that time all the way up. Like it was years in that album, and it wasn't really that long. I really wasn't a writer that much, you know what I'm saying? And that's when I started making a transition into like what I really wanted to do as an MC. You know, that was the first thing. Then I had what was called the second installment sampler, and I kept making songs. Like I would make 2 or 3 songs, put it on a CD and sell it. Then if 2 more songs came out, I would burn it on the CD and sell it. And then I figured out I had like 18 tracks, but all of them weren't finished. So I call it a sampler, and I never got to finish the album. So it stays as a sampler. So now I say, you know, it's called the second installment sampler, but it's an album. I started getting into a series of albums that's gonna basically tell the story of my career and like my beliefs and stuff like that.
Okay. Sort of autobiographical in a sense.
Yeah. Like the first album is called United Slaves of America. You know, and that's basically me as an MC coming out, you know, to free the mind of those that are just trapped, you know, in this world where everyone's concerned with a certain image, you know, a certain appeal and stuff like that. You know, it's basically freeing your mind. As slaves, we can come together and break the change. The second album is called Unauthorized Absence, and it's basically what I got kicked out of the Marines for.
Really?
Yeah, which was not showing up basically where you're supposed to be at. I just left. You know what I'm saying? I didn't come back, so unauthorized absence. So once your mind is free, you know, you move on, you know, so and you're not supposed to. So that's why it's called unauthorized absence, you know, and it's being produced by Swanberger of Soliloquist of Sound. They're signed to Epitaph Records. The final album of the series was called Rest in Peace, Madd Illz, where it's basically the death of the regular MC as Madd Illz, as a battle rapper. You know, to push more, to get more serious into the music side. You know, and it's the birth of a more serious person that, you know, completely knows what he wants to do, you know, with himself and his life. You know, it's like a more mature, but it hits really, really hard because it's something totally different than what's coming out. Now, in between that, a project came up called General Article, which is a 6-song EP. And basically that comes about, it's kind of perfect because when I got kicked out of the Marines, in order to take away from like the GI Bill and certain things that you can get other than honorable discharge, they throw on something called General Article.
Okay.
Really doesn't mean anything. It just means that they're throwing on an extra charge. Kind of makes it look, you know, bad on you. So I was getting ready to go to Scribble Jam, and I had sold a lot of my old material there, and I didn't have any new stuff. So I wrote and recorded in one day that 6-song EP as kind of an add-on to Unauthorized Absence, which is still in the works, so it's called General Article. You know, that's the whole meaning behind General Article.
Gotcha.
But like during the process of recording United Slaves of America,